Good morning, and welcome everyone to this special ceremony to mark the opening of the Supreme Court's judicial year. It is the first opening in almost 40 years, I might add. My colleagues and I are delighted you are joining us. Habituellement, les événements dans cette salle d'audience rassemblent des avocats stressés, des juges très attentifs et des médias curieux. Mais aujourd'hui, il n'y aura pas de questions difficiles à trancher, pas de dossiers volumineux à parcourir et surtout, aucune décision à rendre. J'espère que cela ne vous décevra pas trop. La journée sera néanmoins riche en événements, mais pour d'autres raisons. Tout particulièrement parce que nous avons l'honneur d'accueillir plusieurs anciens membres de la Cour de retour parmi nous. The Right Honorable Beverly McLaughlin, the Honorable Michael Moldaver, the Honorable Maurice Fish, l'Honorable Louis Charon, the Honorable William Ian Denny, and the Honorable Frank Iacobucci. Comme nous avons étonnamment peu d'occasions de nous retrouver, la cérémonie d'aujourd'hui devient d'autant plus précieuse. Members of the legal profession are also well represented today, thanks to several distinguished guest speakers. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Sean Fraser, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, Dean Kristen Boone, representing the Council of Canadian Law Deans, Ms. Bianca Kratt, President of the Canadian Bar Association, Ms. Teresa Donnelly from the Federation of Law Societies of Canada, and Ms. Hilary Book, President of the Advocate Society. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Honorable Francis Scarpaleggia. At today's ceremony, the Canadian judiciary is also well represented by Chief Justices and Associate Chief Justices from federal, provincial, and territorial courts from across the country. We are grateful you could travel to Ottawa and help us commemorate the opening of our judicial year. I see many other familiar faces and new ones as well. Welcome current and former registrars of the court, executive legal officers, and current law clerks. To the law professors, students, and journalists here today, we're also glad you could join us for this very special occasion. Our ceremony is being webcast live, like all our court proceedings. Welcome to those participating online. This is your court, and this is an opportunity to better understand our work. It has been almost 40 years since the Supreme Court held a ceremony to mark the opening of a judicial year. By show of hands, was anyone here for the last one? I didn't think so. It certainly is long overdue. J'ai participé à plusieurs de ces cérémonies ailleurs et chaque fois, j'ai été frappé par la collégialité et la solidarité qu'elles suscitent. De telles cérémonies sont également pour nous l'occasion de réaffirmer notre engagement envers les principes juridiques qui constituent les assises communes de la démocratie, notamment l'accès à la justice, l'indépendance de la magistrature et la transparence des débats judiciaires. Cette année marque le 150e anniversaire de la Cour suprême du Canada. En tant que juridiction d'appel de dernier ressort de notre pays, la Cour interprète la Constitution, protège les libertés et les droits fondamentaux et veille au respect de la primauté du droit. C'est ce message que nous avons partagé avec les Canadiens et les Canadiennes lors de nos visites dans certaines villes du pays depuis le début de l'année. Chacune de nos rencontres avec les communautés locales me rend plus optimiste concernant l'avenir de nos institutions. À titre d'exemple, les étudiants et étudiantes des écoles secondaires et des universités sont curieux et se sentent concernés par ce qui se passe autour d'eux. Ils ont énormément à cœur la protection des valeurs qui nous sont chères à toutes et à tous. Vous avez peut-être d'ailleurs remarqué que l'auditoire est assez jeune aujourd'hui. J'aimerais bien m'inclure dans la description. C'est parce que des étudiants et étudiantes en droit d'Ottawa et de Gatineau se sont joints à nous pour la cérémonie. Il était important pour nous que la prochaine génération soit représentée ici aujourd'hui. In preparing for today, I read the remarks of Chief Justice Brian Dixon, which he delivered at the last opening ceremony 39 years ago. To my surprise, he spoke about two topics that I intended to address myself. By the start of the 1986-1987 judicial year, members of the Supreme Court had delivered 20 decisions on appeals under Canada's new Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Chief Justice Dixon observed that they had included some of the most difficult issues of the time. Things were changing fast, and he sought to reassure the public, and I quote, "The Supreme Court of Canada is still essentially a general court of appeal for the country, and that remains the cornerstone of the life and work of this court today. We are not simply a court specializing in constitutional law, and we will not become one." End quote. 4 decades later, charter cases continue to present the court with some of the country's most challenging legal questions. In the 2025-2026 court year, the Supreme Court will hear many charter appeals. Some of these are criminal cases with issues including the right to be tried within a reasonable time, the protection against self-incrimination, and the right to be free from arbitrary searches. The court will also hear cases on patent law, Aboriginal title, labor relations, and official languages. As the days turn colder, I know many of you are looking for cases to heat things up. All I can say is stay tuned. The second theme Chief Justice Dixon spoke about was the court's brand new video conferencing. Speaking to members of the bar, he said, and I quote, "The judges of the Supreme Court of Canada are totally satisfied with this system. The saving of time, of money, and greater accessibility should commend itself to all counsel who are concerned with the financial implications of representing their clients' interests." End quote. Et pourtant, la vidéoconférence a été largement mise de côté jusqu'en 2020, moment où tout le monde s'est empressé de tirer parti de cette technologie. Comme bien d'autres tribunaux, la Cour suprême a utilisé cette technologie pour assurer la continuité de son travail. The Supreme Court of Canada in 2025 is a modern institution devoted to continuous improvement. We engage with the legal community, journalists, and the public to learn how we may adapt to serve Canadians better. In recent years, the court amended its rules to make it easier for people to apply for leave to appeal. We launched a secure electronic filing portal, and parties have already filed over 38,000 documents with this new technology. We have also eliminated filing fees. For 150 years, the Supreme Court has honored its unique bilingual and bijural heritage, along with its many traditions. Yet, there is one tradition that we have decided to modernize. Many of you will have noticed that my colleagues and I are not wearing our usual red robes. Instead, we are wearing new robes, which preserve the dignity and authority of the judicial role. They have a modern and simple design that echoes our commitment to openness and accessibility in a way that is distinctly Canadian. Dans le même ordre d'idée, de nouveaux symboles seront intégrés dans l'édifice commémoratif de l'Ouest, où nous déménagerons à la fin de la présente année judiciaire. L'édifice où nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui va faire l'objet de travaux de réhabilitation importants, lesquels s'imposent depuis longtemps et dureront au moins 10 ans. Cette année sera donc notre dernière dans cette salle, avant un bon moment. Même si l'édifice dans lequel nous nous trouvons nous manquera, plusieurs éléments historiques et traditionnels, par exemple la moquette rouge et la tribune où nous siégeons, seront repris dans la salle d'audience de l'édifice commémoratif de l'Ouest. Mais celle-ci comprendra également de nouveaux éléments symboliques. À titre d'exemple, la salle d'audience et le hall d'honneur seront dotés de puits de lumière inondant l'espace de lumière naturelle, en écho à l'ouverture et la transparence qui caractérisent le travail de la Cour. Dès le début des préparatifs en vue du déménagement, il est apparu clairement que la Cour est riche en histoire, en objets et en récits qui doivent être préservés pour les générations futures. In line with this, I am pleased to announce that a historical society of the Supreme Court of Canada is being established. A tribute to the Court's profound influence on contemporary society, it will help honor and preserve its rich history and enduring legacy. The Society will foster research, promote education, and engage the public through outreach. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Thomas Cromwell, former Justice of this Court, and Madame Anne Rolland, former Registrar, for agreeing to co-chair this society. Madame Rolland, je suis ravi que vous soyez présente aujourd'hui et j'ai bien hâte de voir ce que la Société historique accomplira sous votre leadership et celui du juge Cromwell. Et pour ce qui est des nombreux anciens auxiliaires juridiques qui ont manifesté leur intérêt à participer à cette nouvelle et passionnante initiative, vous pouvez vous attendre à recevoir un appel téléphonique très bientôt. The Court's legacy has been about upholding the democratic values of our great country. While we are not a superpower in the traditional sense of the word, we are certainly a democratic superpower. For us, the rule of law is non-negotiable. Everyone in this room and across Canada's diverse legal community is committed to public service. We are also united in our deep conviction that the rule of law and judicial independence are not abstract concepts. They are the best defense against tyranny and autocracy. But for most Canadians, judicial independence is theoretical. Bringing it to life requires efficient and effective access to justice, delivered fairly and impartially by well-trained judges. We are fortunate in Canada to have a remarkable judiciary. Our 150th anniversary has been an occasion for reflection. Whether it is during the visits across Canada or the International Legal Symposium held in this very room, it is clear to me that people have been thinking about the strength of our institutions throughout history. Just outside these doors is a great example. In April, the Senate and Library and Archives Canada installed a joint exhibit on the Court's history. The exhibit includes original documents that take us back to 1875, when the Court was first created. When the exhibit was being researched and assembled, we did not know just how much these historic documents would mean to people in these troubling times. But I have come to appreciate that they represent unity in the face of discord and pride in our distinctly distinctly Canadian institutions. As we open this new judicial year, let us once more affirm the principles that have guided this court since 1875. The rule of law, judicial independence, and equal access to justice. For 150 years, these principles have shaped our jurisprudence, strengthened our institutions, and earned the confidence of Canadians. They are the foundation of our democracy and the highest measure of our integrity. Time has carved this legacy in stone, and now we stand ready to build what comes next. May these principles always guide the court in its service to justice and to our great nation. And may each of us always uphold them firmly, faithfully, and fearlessly. Thank you so much for your attention. J'ai maintenant le grand plaisir de vous présenter nos distingués conférenciers et conférencières qui, avec leurs collègues et leurs organisations, font progresser ces valeurs communes. Council, you have 5 minutes. To begin, I am pleased to welcome the Justice Minister and Attorney General, the Honourable Sean Fraser. Minister, the floor is yours.
Merci, le juge en chef, esteemed justices of the Supreme Court of Canada, distinguished guests. You began posing the question as to who amongst us was here for the opening of the court nearly 4 decades ago. I regret to inform you I was learning to walk at the time, but I'm nevertheless grateful to be here today. I can't help but feel how small my presence is, by way of contrast to the enormity of the institution that we're here to celebrate. Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons un anniversaire qui est très important dans l'histoire de ces institutions, mais en même temps, c'est très important dans l'histoire de notre pays. You know, governments come and go over the course of our history, but the court has remained here for virtually the entirety of the story of Canada. You have witnessed the admission of the first woman to practice medicine in this country in 1880. You have been here for the driving of the last spike, completing the railway from coast to coast. You have seen many moments of national glory, the great wars of the previous century, the 1972 Summit Series, national heroes like Terry Fox working towards his Marathon of Hope, and more recently, challenges, even a global pandemic. But what to me is far more important than the history the court has borne witness to is the history that it has helped shape over time. I think back to my first year as a law student, the reverence with which my classmates and I shared for this very institution. Though we knew the cases by name, I have come to appreciate, in my role as a Member of Parliament, the importance of the values that underpin those cases. When we heard the name Roncarelli, we didn't necessarily appreciate it at the time, but the notion of the rule of law is underpinning the very fabric of our nation's society. I think to myself of the principles of democracy that can be found through many decisions of the court, ensuring that everyone in this country has a stake in electing their decision makers. I think to myself about the framework with which we operate, understanding the roles of provinces and territories and the federal government working alongside one another. And I think importantly about the abundance of cases, recognizing and affirming the inherent and treaty rights of Indigenous peoples who form a key part of this country, and recognizing that all citizens are equal before the law, regardless of the color of our skin, the God that we pray to, or the person that we love. Though it's important to reflect on our history, I think we should spend as much time thinking about the future of the court. Quand je regarde l'avenir de notre pays, j'ai beaucoup d'inquiétude. La raison est simple. Notre démocratie n'est pas certaine. Si nous voulons avoir une démocratie pour la prochaine génération, il est essentiel aujourd'hui de travailler plus fort pour défendre notre pays, défendre l'indépendance de ces institutions, défendre les lois en général. It's too common that we see around the world some of the norms which we have held most sacred for many, many decades being slowly eroded. On the global stage, we see trading relationships fraying that we have taken for granted too often. We see members of the United Nations Security Council in open defiance of some of the norms that we have accepted as paramount: territorial integrity, sovereignty of nations, self-determination of peoples. We see easily the temptation of political actors around the world and at home to give in to calls, to give away the rights of another person, to weaken our institutions in a moment of political expediency. Well, it is very, very easy to give away the rights of others. But it is when it is most difficult that it becomes most important that we stand ardent in defense of the need for the law to protect those who do not have a voice to protect themselves. Where we see democratic decline, the antidote will not necessarily be found on the other place atop Parliament Hill, but instead in the laws that are guided by the values that we hold most dear. If we expect someone else to do this work for us, we would be making an enormous mistake. It is for all of us, elected officials, justices of the Supreme Court, ordinary Canadians, to stand up and take ownership of our democracy. I fear that we will succumb one day to the erosion of our rights bit by bit until they are gone, until we reach a moment where there is no one left to defend our rights. It is so essential that we respect the ability of the court to do its jobs with whatever challenges we may face of a political nature. Now, I hold the view that it's completely acceptable for the court to recognize that as times change, the beliefs of Canadians change, and so too ideas the court may consider can change. But as we see these shifting circumstances, it is important to recognize that the values that underpin our Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the values that underpin the very notion of the rule of law, remains at the central focus of our debates, not only in Parliament, but the arguments that you hear in this court. J'apprécie l'opportunité pour être ici pour célébrer l'institution. And I think it's okay for us to enjoy this, but I think after we leave here today, we need to commit ourselves to defending the institution for the long term. By doing the hard work of ensuring the Supreme Court is here 150 years from now, we will at the same time be ensuring Canada remains the true north, strong and free 150 years later. Merci, c'est un grand plaisir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le ministre, pour ces propos très porteurs. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dean Kristen Boone, President of the Council of Canadian Law Deans. Ms. Boone.
Monsieur le juge en chef, Mesdames et Messieurs les juges de la Cour suprême du Canada, Monsieur le ministre de la Justice, dignitaires et collègues, j'ai l'immense plaisir de parler aujourd'hui au nom du Conseil des doyennes et doyens des facultés de droit du Canada. Cette association indépendante regroupe les doyennes et doyens des 25 écoles de droit du pays. Le Conseil exerce essentiellement un rôle de consultation auprès de ses membres sur des questions d'intérêt commun, notamment l'enseignement du droit du Canada, la recherche juridique, la coopération entre les écoles de droit, les relations avec le corps enseignant en droit, la profession juridique et d'autres institutions savantes. Je remercie les membres de la Cour suprême pour leur rapport et leur travail essentiel. I was a clerk for Justice Ian Binney in 2002 to 2003, and I spent many hours in this courtroom, sitting at that bench just over there, watching some of our country's most eloquent advocates pleading their cases before you. It was the experience of a lifetime to see how justices of this court then moved the cases forward, rendering decisions on complex areas of law with humility and a sense of humor. En ma qualité de doyenne de la faculté de droit de l'Université d'Ottawa, je suis fière d'être accompagnée aujourd'hui de 5 étudiants et étudiantes, soit une doctorante, la rédactrice en chef de la revue de droit de Ottawa, une représentante de la gouvernance des étudiants autochtones en droit, une étudiante ukrainienne à la maîtrise en droit et une étudiante du programme de Common Law en français. Clara Laplante Bédard, Fumi Shibutami, Laurent Hassan, Stanislav Yakov et Fatima Ali Youssef. Ces personnes représentent la diversité des talents de notre corps étudiant et l'avenir de la profession juridique au Canada. The Canadian Council members and their faculties have a special relationship with this court. Most, if not all, lawyers and judges in this room will have attended one of our faculties of law. I expect that you will all have special memories of your time in law school, whether that was a student event, a clinic that you loved, or a wonderful event with friends. I used to study in my law school's library, and a memory for me was leaving the library as it closed around 10 p.m. many evenings, when I would hear a bagpipe player practicing in the law school's auditorium. To this day, when I hear bagpipes, I think of studying for torts and my torts final exam. And I say that not out of a sense of distress, but actually of great enthusiasm as I got married in Scotland to a Scot with bagpipes. On behalf of the Canadian Council of Law Deans, I wish to tell you what a special moment it is when you come to our faculties and visit our law students. I would like to encourage you to continue to do so. Our students remember those visits in great detail. As justices, you will hire some of our brightest students as law clerks, and the moment of connection really begins with your visit. Thank you for making the time for this and for the experiences that you all share with our students. Au sein du Conseil, les membres du corps professoral s'inspirent tous les jours de vos jugements dans leurs écrits et leurs enseignements. Nous sommes toujours très fiers de voir leurs articles consultés lors de vos délibérations. Je peux vous assurer que l'information circule à la vitesse de l'éclair lorsque une collègue est citée dans une arrêt de la Cour suprême, car c'est le couronnement d'une carrière. En cette année qui marque le 150e anniversaire de la Cour et son départ prochain de son magnifique édifice, votre regard se tourne à la fois vers le passé et vers l'avenir. Les écoles de droit regardent dans les mêmes directions. Comme vous, l'Université d'Ottawa travaille dans les deux langues officielles et les deux traditions juridiques, la common law et le droit civil. En tant que doyenne, je suis fière de la contribution de notre corps professoral à la décision de traduire en français les décisions importantes rendues avant 1970. Je salue également le travail de notre équipe qui a créé Expérience Cour suprême, une formidable application multimédia immersive au cœur de l'édifice de la Cour. In legal academia, we too are looking towards the future. One of the benefits of the CCLD is that we are constantly learning from each other and from the dynamic nature of legal education in Canada. I polled our Canadian law deans on what they wanted me to tell you today, and here are some things they asked me to share. First, the most important curricular change in law schools today is diversified teaching methods. Many professors now teach beyond traditional case method, to include problem-based learning, alternative dispute resolution, and experiential learning. In addition, 80% of the deans who responded indicated that their law schools now have a compulsory first-year course in Indigenous law, or droit des premiers peuples. We all have concerted programming around equity, diversity, and inclusion in the legal profession, for example, faculty-led workshops and discussions. And at the forefront of our thinking today is how artificial intelligence is reshaping the practice of law, and inevitably, legal education itself. Law deans across the country are committed to equipping students with digital literacy and ethical frameworks required for a profession in rapid legal transformation. Looking ahead, Canada's law schools remain dedicated to delivering an legal education that is dynamic, inclusive, and world-class. We prepare graduates to embrace innovation and champion access to justice and engage with the pressing legal challenges of our time. On behalf of Canada's 25th law schools, congratulations to the court on its 150th anniversary. Thank you for your outreach and for your efforts to visit communities across the country. Miigwech, et bonne chance avec the move across the street. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Mme la doyenne Boone. Thank you very much. J'invite maintenant la présidente de l'Association du barreau canadien, Maître Bianca Kratt, à prendre la parole.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. Monsieur le juge en chef, Mesdames, Messieurs les juges, distingués invités. C'est un grand honneur pour moi d'être ici aujourd'hui et de participer à cette rentrée judiciaire alors que la Cour suprême célèbre son 150e anniversaire. Cela signifie 150 ans de continuité et de tradition, mais aussi 150 ans d'évolution. Par exemple, il y a 50 ans, je ne suis pas certaine que mes ancêtres Huron-Wendat auraient pu imaginer qu'un jour, je prendrais la parole ici, au nom de l'Association du barreau canadien, devant une Cour suprême qui compte une juge à bien acquise. Et je doute que quiconque aurait pu prévoir que nous serions tous deux des femmes. Ces changements sont porteurs d'espoir, mais la stabilité et la durabilité de nos institutions sont elles aussi essentielles. This court is a symbol and living proof of the stability a country can enjoy when its legal institutions remain respected, independent, and rooted in the rule of law. A glance at history and at the world around us is enough to see how truly rare this is, and it's not something we can take for granted. Je sais que la plupart d'entre nous qui assistons à une cérémonie judiciaire, de rentrée judiciaire, ne prennent pas la primauté du droit pour acquis. Mais soyons honnêtes, parfois même nous la tenons pour acquise. La plupart d'entre nous avons grandi dans un pays où nous pouvons dire ce que nous pensons, aller où ce que nous voulons et fréquenter qui nous voulons. Mais croyons-nous vraiment que cela pourrait changer un jour? Pouvons-nous vraiment imaginer un avenir où il faudrait marcher dans les rues d'Ottawa ou dans les rues de Calgary avec des papiers d'identité en main, prêts à les montrer à un agent sur demande? Ou un futur où il faudrait l'approbation du parti au pouvoir pour obtenir un permis de pêche ou une bourse d'artiste? Ou encore un futur où le sort d'un dossier dépend moins de son bien fondé que de la crainte d'un juge de subir des représailles? Bien sûr, l'égalité devant la loi n'a jamais été parfaite au Canada. Mes ancêtres Wendat en sauraient long et des défis demeurent. Mais dans l'ensemble, les Canadiens et Canadiennes bénéficient d'un système juridique dans lequel ils peuvent avoir confiance. It is our duty as people who work in the law and who care about the rule of law to remind Canadians to cherish it and to take its fragility seriously. We need to show our friends, our neighbors, and ourselves not only the benefits of the rule of law, but also the risks of losing it. The Supreme Court doesn't last for 150 years and counting as a credible, independent authority without the support of a strong and resilient legal community. La Cour suprême joue un rôle essentiel dans la protection de la primauté du droit au Canada. Cependant, elle ne peut y parvenir seule. C'est à nous tous et toutes d'y contribuer. Chaque fois qu'un avocat donne un conseil juridique indépendant à son client, chaque fois qu'un fonctionnaire public applique une règle de manière équitable et transparente, chaque fois qu'un juge rend une décision fondée uniquement sur le droit et son jugement, chaque fois qu'un politicien résiste à l'envie de tirer profit politiquement d'une décision impopulaire, et chaque fois qu'un citoyen fait valoir ses droits constitutionnels. Chaque fois que l'une de ces situations se produit, la primauté du droit au Canada se renforce. Et c'est ainsi que cette Cour pourra célébrer encore 150 ans d'histoire tout en continuant d'évoluer. Merci. Thank you. Tiawa.
Thank you, Ms. Kratt. Now, Ms. Teresa Donnelly, President of the Federation of Law Societies of Canada. The floor is yours.
It's a profound honor to join in this historic occasion marking the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Court of Canada. As the chief noted, this court doesn't traditionally gather for such ceremonies, and that makes today both exceptional and remarkable. It offers us the rare chance to pause, to honor this court's extraordinary legacy, and to reflect on and reaffirm its enduring role as a vital guardian of the rule of law in our democracy. For a century and a half, this court has shaped the very fabric of Canadian society. Its judgments breathe life into the rights and freedoms we hold dear, while ensuring our laws continue to evolve alongside the values and aspirations of Canadians. This court's strength rests on its independence, an independence that guarantees the fair and impartial administration of justice and sustains the public trust in our legal system. Au nom de la Fédération des ordres professionnels de juristes du Canada, j'ai l'honneur de vous adresser mes salutations aujourd'hui. The Federation is the national voice of the 14 law societies of Canada that regulate in the public interest. Today, I am joined by 9 presidents and 1 vice president from law societies across the country. They're both honored and excited to be here, and dare I say, a little starstruck, just like me. Our role collectively is to ensure that Canadians are served by lawyers, Quebec notaries, and Ontario paralegals who are competent, ethical, and committed to justice. In this shared mission, we see this court's influence every day, its decisions guiding the legal professions and resonating in the lives of Canadians. This anniversary is not only a moment to look back, it's a call to look forward. Our justice system faces profound challenges: the rapid transformation of technology, the continued need for equity and inclusion, and the ongoing and vital work of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Access to justice for ordinary Canadians continues to be a challenge that cries out for solutions. Within the profession itself, we are confronting a wellness and mental health crisis, a reminder to all of us who serve the cause of justice that they must themselves be supported, be lauded for reaching out when they need help, and be treated with compassion. Meeting these challenges will require vision, collaboration, and a continued commitment to the very values this court embodies. Many of these challenges are not new, but in this moment, things feel different. At no time in our history have we felt more concerned about the bedrock principles that underlie our democracy. The rule of law is under threat. The independence of the legal professions and the independence of the judiciary are being challenged, and these developments only serve to erode public confidence in the justice system. Let's all of us collectively and unequivocally reaffirm our commitment to the rule of law. Let us remind every Canadian that, as the Chief Justice said, it is not an abstract principle, but a shared foundation that belongs to each of us. It's ours to uphold, it's ours to protect. Je félicite le juge en chef pour ses efforts constants visant à aider les Canadiennes et Canadiens à comprendre l'importance de ce message. I would also like to recognize another vital aspect of the court's work, and it's the efforts to open doors and invite Canadians in. Though initiatives like the Supreme Court Experience Project, through that project, the court is sharing its history and its role in our democracy with Canadians, especially young people. This work deepens our understanding, fosters civic engagement, and inspires confidence in the rule of law for future generations. The Federation is proud to have played a small part in helping make this project possible, and we look forward to seeing it inspire Canadians for years to come. As we celebrate 150 years of the Supreme Court of Canada, we honor not only its past, but its promise for the future. On behalf of the Federation and all law societies, I wish the court a successful start to the new session, and we affirm our unwavering support for the court's work today and for future generations to come. We stand with you firmly, faithfully, and fearlessly. Thank you.
Ms. Donnelly, for your words. I now call upon our final guest speaker, the President of the Advocate Society, Ms. Hilary Book.
Monsieur le juge en chef, Monsieur le ministre, Mesdames et Messieurs les juges, distingués invités, c'est un honneur d'être ici aujourd'hui pour représenter la Société des plaideurs. Comme je prends la parole en son nom, je souhaite centrer mes remarques sur la joie d'être un plaideur au sein de notre système de justice. As advocates, people come to us with their stories and problems and ask us to help them find a solution. We translate those stories and problems into evidence and legal issues. We take them through a process that is often still too long and too expensive, and that sometimes winds up in a trial. If things go well, then joy of joys, we win. If they don't, sorrow of sorrows, we lose. But even when we lose, all hope is not lost, because there's still an appeal. And then we go through another process. And if things go well, joy of joys, we win. If they don't, sorrow of sorrows, we lose. This time, if we lose, there is still some hope that we may, in certain circumstances, succeed in getting leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. I suspect that most advocates feel joy when their case gets leave to appeal to this court, even if they represent the responding party. Après tout, la Cour suprême établit la norme pour tous les tribunaux de ce pays, non seulement en ce qui concerne le droit, mais aussi en ce qui a trait à l'indépendance et l'intégrité judiciaire. Cela m'amène à la joie la plus importante et la plus significative d'être un plaideur au Canada. Gagner et perdre compte, bien sûr, mais la véritable et durable joie du métier d'avocat, c'est que nous avons le privilège de faire partie d'un système où les juges sont impartiaux et indépendants, où la primauté du droit prévaut et où les partis, y compris fait crucial les gouvernements, obéissent au jugement, même lorsqu'ils ne leur plaisent pas. Même lorsque nos clients perdent, nous pouvons les rassurer en leur disant qu'ils ont bénéficié d'une audience équitable. This is precious, and as we can see from other countries throughout history and sadly today, all too easily lost. The Advocate Society shares the commitment of those in attendance today to doing our best to ensure that in another 150 years, future generations will be able to celebrate the continued strengths of these foundations of our justice system and experience the true joy of being an advocate. Merci.
Thank you so much, Ms. Book. Mes collègues et moi tenons à exprimer notre sincère gratitude à nos conférenciers, nos conférencières, ainsi qu'à nos invités dans la salle. Nous félicitons chacun et chacune d'entre vous pour votre engagement envers l'administration de la justice au Canada. À ceux et celles qui nous suivent en ligne, merci de partager cette cause commune. Je tiens également à prendre un moment pour saluer le personnel de la Cour. Ce personnel qui nous aide, mes collègues et moi, à mieux servir la population canadienne. Nos employés se surpassent constamment. Nous leur sommes extrêmement reconnaissants de leur professionnalisme, de leur passion et de leur engagement sans faille. Before we conclude, I will invite my colleagues, followed by our guest speakers and our registrar, to sign a commemorative book. I would ask everyone to remain seated during this time. Afterwards, we invite you to join us in the grand entrance hall, where the book will be relocated. Before leaving the court, please take a moment to sign the book to record your presence here today. Employees will be invited to sign this book later on this afternoon. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you again for everyone for joining us. Je vous remercie toutes et tous de votre présence. Ceci met fin à la cérémonie officielle. We will all join you at the entrance hall, and the court is adjourned. Thank you very much.